Good morning. Let us bow for a moment in prayer. Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you for those gathered here. We thank you for this event. We ask your blessings and your guidance. We thank you for those who have gone ahead and planned and helped to bring this together. At this time, many persons are seeing each other again after a very long time. This is a time of memory, recollection, and also a time of rejoicing. We ask your blessings on this day's events. We pray that everyone that is here will leave here refreshed and remembering how far we have come from, looking forward to how far we can go. We give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.
I love when the person you ask to say prayer or give blessings no says not a sermon. I performed in this studio with Olive Lewin, and I understand my culture. So I just sprinkle, watch Bev's face. I just sprinkle a little white rum, and I know that, where's Mr. Crawford? In gone out of the room? You don't understand the little white rum, because I tell you, we need the little blessings. We're getting rid of Raphael because it messed you up last week. Okay, good. Mr. Keith, every time I think of Keith Campbell as CEO of this entity, I remember working with Keith in this studio. We were all young people then. We didn't have any limps. We had afros. Our hair was black. No arthritis. I speak for myself. But it's really wonderful. I look at my colleagues in the room who are seated there. I can't even see everybody, but we all work together. I look at Tony Robinson. Where's Tony? There. And Tony worked with JIS, but they poached on JBC's studio. So Tony would be upstairs, and I'd come down as a young theater school student. They wanted us to dramatize some stuff, and you hear, that's a Tony, you know, with film stammer. Him no mind, me can tease him. Instruction, I go to eventually the instruction come out, but so it go. Tony, love you. I never miss his birthday, and before he got married, he always got my first batch of sorrel without rum. Yes. T, it's good to see you in the place where you used to work. So Keith, who is no stranger to these studios, seeing that you are the person operating and working here with your team, and I want to acknowledge, if you just allow me, all of the PBCJ team in here at this time, if you could just acknowledge them. And I want to thank Raquel for being my support, my right hand this morning, making sure I have what I need. But is Carol Francis in here? Okay, now when you shall have left here, you'll go across to where the exhibition is, if you've not already had a little look at it. So you'll be having this experience here, short, and then you go over to the exhibition. Joan Andrea Hutchinson, Carol, and yourself and your team, you've done yeoman job to pull this off. Could you put your hands together for them? So Keith, I am certain you are proud of your team. You worked these floors as a cameraman for years, and your tenure at the JBC is well marked with many exciting things. So now you've been here as a CEO of PBCJ, and we're happy to know that you're still in a place that you can smell, taste, that you used to sleep in, you experience. So come up and just welcome the people as the CEO of PBCJ. And don't touch the white rum underneath here. I have some other things to do with it.
Colleagues, my board chair, other board members who are here, staff, and as far back as my memory can go, I joined the JBC in 1968. And one of the, right out of high school, Stets at the time had the only radio and television, they still do, club in the country. And that was where I began. So I left Stets and came straight to the JBC through the assistance, giving the club the assistance from one M.G. Robinson, Tony's father, and Rupert Linton, who visited us on a monthly basis whenever they went to Spur Tree to fix the transmitters. So they would run down to Stets with some old microphones and so forth. So that's how I fell in love with broadcasting. I've been here at the CPTC. I went to the CPTC after returning from studies, and then after that I came back to JBC. You all know what happened to JBC, and then PBCJ, and I'm here now. And I'm proud to be here to try, along with my board chair and the board that is so supportive in terms of really trying to realize what public broadcasting is and supposed to be. But before I say welcome, I recall one incident, because when I went over to meet Dr. Prendergast, who was hiding over in the corner there, someone who was standing with him, a beautiful young lady, said, "Man, you know this man? You must be traumatized." And I said, "No, not in the classroom, but I remember being traumatized once by Patrick." At the time, we had just expanded Lime Tree Lane from a feature to a half-hour program. And Patrick was the producer, director, and editor of one particular episode. He never got paid for the last two. It was now 6:30, time for Lime Tree Lane. We could not find Lime Tree Lane. And when we tried our best to find Patrick, he said, "Yes, I have it, but I must be paid first." That was traumatic because I was then the program's manager of... That was traumatic. Now, having said all of that, I want to welcome you all here. This idea, this concept, was that of the library staff, led by Carol Francis and Joan Hutchinson, who joined us recently. And they have had sleepless nights and 7 days a week, almost 24/7, to try and pull this all together. I've been disrupted even while talking to my chairman at times. "Mr. Campbell, I needed to come down. No one identified this person. Who is that person?" And there was one particular lady, beautiful. I wasn't too sure who she was then. Pretty, but she's now beautiful. And I said it to her a while ago. "I want you to confirm that that's you when you see the exhibition." Lloyd Gale. Okay? So, another experience I had when I went over to the radio building for the first time just to see what the operations was. It was in the morning, and I think Mrs. Manley Duncan, Beverly at the time, had a early morning show. And I went over and she looked at me because I was looking through the window. The whole look into the studio and say, "Who are you? What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm a new cameraman." I said, "Cameraman don't belong here. They belong over that side." Right? Never forget that. But having said that, welcome all. And I do hope that you will enjoy the exhibition. It will bring back memories. And please, enjoy the morning with us. And any questions you have to ask about where we got some of these derelicts from, including photographs, you'll have to direct those questions to Carol and Joan Andrea Hutchinson. Welcome, and I do, as I've said before, hope that you'll find this morning fulfilling and meaningful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Campbell. So Patrick stressed you. You remember the very many productions we had in here? Those just made us feel so special. This studio has been a chapel. This studio has been a chapel. Don Butner turned it into a chapel. Anybody remembers that? Yes. This studio has been everything and anything. This studio hosted a banquet for Macbeth, fully catered. Macbeth. It was directed, of course, by Wycliffe Bennett. Fully catered by, I can't remember the name of the caterers, but they were at Devon House at the time, including the pig with the apple in the mouth. I remember that distinctly. Anybody in here, a cameraman, anybody in here who worked on that banquet? It was 1973. I joined in 1974, but I was in the cast of Macbeth. I was one of the witches. And we had to shoot on a hillside, double trouble, toil, and it was something else in the night. Madam Chair, might I invite you now to bring your remarks? The Attorney at Law and Chairman of the PBCJ, Mrs. Rose Bennett Cooper. It's good to see you here.
Good morning. I will simply say that I hope she don't have too many notes for me this morning after I finished just sharing with you a few remarks. All protocols observed. I just like to welcome all of you here this morning. It is my deepest honor and privilege to have the opportunity to talk to you today on what I consider to be an auspicious morning. So I thank you really for joining us. This is the official launch of the PBCJ exhibition, 100 Years of Jamaica's Audiovisual History. The exhibition recognizes Jamaica's rich and important audiovisual legacy on which our modern broadcasting and audiovisual landscape is built. The exhibition was mounted to coincide with World Audiovisual Heritage Day at the end of October. And I wish to point out that while it is not an exhibition, I think Faye said it earlier about the JBC, there is heavy focus on that organization because of its impact on the broadcasting landscape in Jamaica. I know many of you in this room know this studio intimately, and you have worked at the JBC. It was a training ground for many who have gone on to other organizations and have started their own business. So all of us in this room have in some way, shape, or form been part of Jamaica's rich audiovisual landscape. We live in a techno-dominant global environment where our every action and thought is driven by and bound up in technology. And one thing is clear: technology does not stand still, and it is constantly evolving. And what seemed like cutting-edge and highly innovative technology years ago is now completely obsolete. And in another 100 years, the things we celebrate as new technology will be a distant memory. So in this rapid evolution, however, we celebrate the movers, we celebrate the shakers, the players who produce excellent work given the existing technology. And in the 1960s, the JBC had cameras which weighed 500 pounds. I mean, the mind boggles. You're thinking of cameras now that you have in your back pocket. You walk around in your hand, with it in your hand. And the cameramen then had to move them around in order to meet the mandate of the station to produce quality programming. And that is a phrase that Mr. Campbell liked to tell me when I say, I want this, and I want that, and I want it now, and I want it different. Quality programming, chair. We have to maintain quality, standards of quality. Lord have mercy. When he's ready to shoot down all the brilliant new ideas that his board members, because their members are very excited that we can get it done. You know, what about doing this yesterday? Yes, chair, we can. Forget about the fact that we don't have the money. We have to maintain the standards of quality programming. Can't fight that at all, because very often we look at some of what is being produced and we cringe because we recognize that the word quality and other word standard not involved in the creation of some of what we see. So in our current digital environment, equipment which you can literally hold in the palm of your hand is doing the same job and more. And for those of us with grandchildren are still waiting on mine, where my son? For those of us, I'm sure it is hard for them to understand these youngsters, the grandchildren, how we operated back then. Because in today's world of now and immediately, where all communication happens in a nanosecond, the younger generation, they rack their brains trying to figure out how we survived. I had such a conversation not so long ago with my son. I had to remind the boy, Pitney and me, teach you to use a computer, you know. And then he tells me, but Mom, you still don't know how to use a computer. But you know, back then, we had to wait, you may recall, 24 to 36 hours or longer for film to be processed. And when you compare that to now, the world of now, where almost everything is instant and immediate, this is a brave new world. And I want to use the opportunity to salute the men and women who have contributed to our rich audiovisual legacy. Many of you in this room, those who worked in front of the camera, or were the voices of radio, and those who worked behind the scenes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so very much for your contribution. Our nation is richer because of the work that you put in. And our dynamic audiovisual and broadcast legacy stands on the foundation which you helped to build. Sometimes we forget. Sometimes in the now and the immediate, we forget the past, and we do so at our peril. We encourage you all to visit the exhibition, which runs until the end of the month. And I'm sure you will reminisce about the programs and people and equipment which were part of your youth. Some of we still behave and think that we're young, you know. Or some of these things that were around before you were born. Special thanks to you, our CEO, Mr. Keith Campbell, and his team for mounting the exhibition. This is just a start, and my hope is that in the near future, we will see an even bigger exhibition which partners with entities such as the CPTC, JIS, TVJ, and the National Library, collaborating to document and chronicle our audiovisual journey. Because if we do not take control of how the stories are told and the stories that are told, then others will rewrite our history. We want to ensure that our history is not lost and that it is there for our children's generation to enjoy, even including my grandchildren who are not yet here. Thank you all so very much, and I look forward to us having an enjoyable morning as it continues. Lady Faye.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you very much. You mentioned that you taught your son how to use a computer, but no, you recognize that you really don't know how to use a computer. And where's your son? Is he in the room? Not in the room. All right. Well, tell him for me that that thing that he does with cut and paste, it was actually cutting and pasting, right? And you might see I think Joan, I don't know if you were able to capture it, but my personal editing block and my chinograph and my razor blade and my, all of that I did send down there so them can include it. Yes, I see my friend around the back nodding. So tell them, say, anything what them do know, we used to do it, and we can do it better than they do it because we've, no, serious something, you know. You tell them now if you go cut and paste on an editing block and see what happens. Tell them how to take off an S off what on the editing block, what the chairman say, or put it on. Them can't do it. You just make sure, say, though, when you cut, you make sure, say, you have an arrangement with the thing that will drop on the floor in a studio. So if you need, Bev, say, So if you need to recover anything, it's there for you to recover. No, I said to you that lots of things happen. By the way, please humor me, right? And humor our culture, because lots of things that happen, and we have Raphael that bother with. Sure. So there's a bad flu going around, and the next speaker get it and can't come. So he sent a little message, which I'm now going to read. This is Executive Director, Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, and Vice Chairman of UNESCO Information for All Program, IFAP, 100 Years of Jamaica's Audiovisual History. My dear colleagues, greetings in your respective capacities. I am hoarse from a cold and a cough. I therefore thought about sending this is an artificial, intelligence-generated voice recording, but in the end, opted for Faye's voice, which is much more delightful any day than a machine-generated imitation, which takes me to the exhibition. It chronicles 100 years of information integrity when authenticity was the prevailing standard. Not impersonalization, disinformation, misinformation, or fakeness, which characterize so much of our current audiovisual experience. I, therefore, join with all of you in thanking PBCJ for being such excellent stewards of this documentary heritage, which is on display. Me gone. I saw it done. Me done. All right, so put your hands together for Cordell, who is not with us today. And, you know, there are so many people, I don't know, coming down with a flu, and sometimes I wonder if it's a flu or if it's something else. Now, when I was a youngster and came into this business in 1974, I was scared to come across to TV if I wasn't on my P's and my Q's with a man, a master controller named Don Blades. Don Blades, Michael Carr. Yes? Did you work with Don, Michael? He said, oh, what do them? Anyway, all of the people who worked at JBC in that era know about Don. He was not rude, he was just firm. And you better come in there on time, get to your seat on time, no pussyfooting around, all right. But after Don retired, we built a fantastic friendship. So we speak at least once a week. So I'll get a message that says, you can talk? Or I'll send a message, you can talk? And we talk, but hello, between me and you, our conversations, they're not 5 or 10 minutes. Our conversations are 45 minutes to an hour or more. And I know when he's not here or when he's coming back, and it's just amazing the friendship that has come about after these years of being so on the P's and my Q's with Mr. Blades. The very first telecine operator at the JBC when JBC TV started in 1963. He was one of the first 4 master controllers, the first locally trained, and wore a number of different technical hats at the JBC. Might I ask you to look at the screens now? I think Don has sent us some matches. We getting it?
My name is Don Blades. I was the first telecine operator for JBC Television. I was also trained to be a cameraman, an audio man, among other things. After a few years as a telecine operator, I became the first locally trained master controller. In those days, first of all, things were much larger, cameras were much bigger, much heavier. The studio cameras, for instance, I think they were EMIs, and they would, with the pedestals, they would weigh maybe over 500 pounds. The cameras, of course, were used on lighter pedestals. The studio type pedestal, which is a hydraulic piece of equipment that was not taken outside of the studio. These were designed for studio use only. So it used wheeled tripods, fairly sturdy things because the cameras were quite heavy, as I said earlier. And we used those on location. And it required quite a lot of physical effort to take the cameras to the various positions that they were needed. And those days, the cables themselves for the cameras were quite heavy also. And I can recall at the stadium, one of the camera positions was at the very top of the grandstand. And you can just imagine the effort required to lift that camera from ground level all the way up to the back of the grandstand. But it was done, and we were all young men then, quite physical, so it wasn't much of a problem really. We had a piece of equipment that was called a standards converter, and this was able to transfer film to the new system, which was NTSC. So this device was something maybe about 8 feet long or more. And it took us maybe an hour or two for it to be warmed up to be able to work efficiently. So tapes that would come to us on PAL would have to be converted to the new standard for it to be broadcast on JBC television.
Right, that's Don Blades, I believe. Right. I'm so happy that Don agreed to do this because he just wants to stay quietly and, enjoy his time. But I'm really, really happy that he did this. When he mentioned telecine, I know Tony and others will remember standing up in the air, run telecine! You understand? So the NTSC, I'm going to be naughty and tell you what we said it was when it was first introduced. We said it was called Never Twice the Same Color. It comes with the territory, never twice the same color. Why is it, PAL was Peace at Last. Thank you. And that's the voice of Mr. Saint-Just back there, who has been in this business for 4,000 years. Oh, man. And he has done some marvelous things himself. Thank you so much for being here today. I know you're busy, right? Thank you very much. And yes, and I want now to introduce Dr. Patrick Prendergast, who took over on the 1st of August, 2024, as the director of the Caribbean School of Media and Communication at the University of the West Indies. But long before those things happened, he attended the Jamaica School of Drama. And he also played Sammy in Lime Tree Lane. But he was also a producer of Morning Time. Some people forget that. And I remember a particular outside broadcast in Popine Square, where he was my producer of Morning, long before you have, what I'm calling it now, Smile Jamaica, it was just called Morning Time. Patrick, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Could you just bring your remarks? Mr. Crawford said to me, a lot of people bring in remarks, so you might want to bring greetings, I don't know.
I know I'm not supposed to. Friends, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all, good morning. Is it still morning? Yeah, one of the beautiful things about going into spaces like these is that you really can't tell the time of day. You just do what you have to do, then you come out, you go in the broad daylight, and when you finish, it is total darkness. But that's the experience of coming from theater into media, and particularly television. I consider this a privilege and an opportunity, really, to share some thoughts this morning. I won't be reminiscing, so I won't challenge Mr. Campbell's story of being traumatized. Privileged as the director of the Caribbean School of Media and Communication at a time when we are actually celebrating 50 years of contribution to the development of the Caribbean as a unique and ever-evolving melting pot. The years being observed in this exhibition, it would have had a special place in the telling of all the stories that have been told about our people, to our people, and by our people. And that special place is in its legacy of excellence and leadership in training and education, and in ensuring the overall capacity of the Caribbean media space for the last 50 years. So forgive me if I feel compelled to say that CARIMAC, the PBCJ, all the other institutions such as the RJR, the National Library, the Gleaner, JBC, all these media spaces that make today possible are inextricably linked. And therein also lies a very critical opportunity. It is in moments like these that we must embrace the opportunity, yes, as institutions, but also as individuals, to collaborate on ensuring that the stories that are told are true, authentic, and faithful to the preservation of our dignity, the celebration of our journey and our victories, the acknowledgement of our defiance, and the highlighting of the lessons from our overcoming, especially for those who have, bless their souls, transitioned earlier. We have an opportunity and a duty to those who will benefit from this archiving, to those who, as late Professor Brown used to tell us in class, in his many lectures, make history lowercase h, and those who write history uppercase h, to ensure that in the way the story is told, people will not only talk about where we are now, in relation to where we're coming from, but leave that experience with a better understanding and deeper appreciation for the people involved in making history. The people in front of the camera and behind the technologies, behind the application of creativity, the creativity necessary to use those technologies, and the people behind the innovations that have emerged from that experience. You see, the story of the Caribbean and its peoples is one that is as complex in its unfolding as it can be in its telling. And simply put, it is intimately bound in a sort of parallel evolution of both the very technologies and the people involved in simultaneously making the history, documenting the history, and telling the history. So this exhibition then is also an opportunity to trace our society's development over 100 years. I could tell you some personal experiences of others telling my own story in ways that are nowhere near the truth, except that's true. Nowhere near the authenticity or the faithfulness of which I mentioned earlier. But I'm also known for going beyond the time given, and I don't want that reputation to be continued this morning. But understand me, there are stories to be told and stories to be fixed. And we can, at this time, use the privilege and opportunity to fix those stories. So on behalf of the Caribbean School of Media and Communication, congratulations to the team responsible for this exhibition, and I hope the public, especially our young people, will make the time to benefit from its staging. So this is not just a story of Jamaica's print and broadcast industry and the people involved in it, but also a reflection of how our people and the region have evolved in very unique and special ways. This is an opportunity for information, for education, for learning. Do not deny yourself the privilege of this invaluable source at this time. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Patrick. Yes, people will tell your story for you if you don't tell it. There was a young woman in media who interviewed me, and I don't know why she thought that either asthma or underactive thyroid should be dyslexia. So there's an interview that you can't take out of media once it goes digital, that I have dyslexia. I have overcome many things, but that is not one of them. And then, for whatever reason, it's out there that I was born in 1951. Please, I was not born in the year of Hurricane Charlie. I was born in 1953. But you're so right. So if we don't write our own stuff, then misinformation will be out there about us. So I've been trying to write my aspects of my stories. I hope that I'll be able to correct that part. But Patrick, you're right. Absolutely. You mentioned that we should ensure that younger Jamaicans have an opportunity to see this exhibition. And we have to find ways and means to do it. One way is to get it out there on your social media handles, PBCJ, and share it to those of us who have social media to put it out there as well. And I'm sitting looking at my colleague and friend, and neighbor-ish, Tony Patel, neighbor-ish, who joined JBC in 1965. Clap him now. In addition to being a TV newscaster and program host, he was the man in the sky. Does anybody remember that? Did you ever know that Tony had a pilot's license? Well, then again, I can tell you, when he used to come through the front, Keith, bear me out. Everybody in here, Michael, no, bear me out. When Tony drive in through the front gate at JBC, him coming on two wheels sometime, am I? I'm not kidding you. So what was happening, he was frustrated that he was no longer in the sky, so he took it out on the road. Help us. You better, if you're in at that front yard and Tony Carr come out. I'm telling everything about you. I don't care if you're vexed. But here is something, no, I'm not vexed, we're a good friend. Here is something else though. I'm sitting there and I am eavesdropping on him and the young lady who's sitting next to him, Johanna. And he says to her, when I go up there, you sit over there, and then you take this camera and you do that. So he's training her, his granddaughter. Could you help me welcome Tony Patel? And Johanna, who's going to ensure that she captures what he says, or Johanna, no supper for you. Okay, and he's going to tell Grandma as well, and then that will be a heart of claps. T. Patel, I call him T. Patel. Come forward. Why are you walking like you're sexy?
Wow. Madam Chairman of PBCJ, my friend Keith Campbell, CEO, Mrs. Duncan Beverly. I'm seeing some, but of course the light is in my face. What I will say is, well, the glasses are here, but I don't really use them much. So, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues all, good morning. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be here this morning. As Faye just mentioned, I came here in 1965. Started with JIS TV on the floor in the studio as a floor manager, props man, production assistant, went to ETV, Educational Television, spent 3.5 years, a year with JIS, 3.5 years with ETV, and then joined JBC officially in 1970. Now, Dr. Prendergast spoke about Carrimac. He is now in charge of Carrimac. I was one of the very first batch of people who enrolled and attended Carrimac. We were the guinea pigs. When I tell people about it, we had one classroom, one single room. The lecturers came to us, and we sat in that one room. 25 of us, I think it was. 6 typewriters for the 25 of us. Not word processors, 6 typewriters. 1 of each textbook, because the books hadn't been ordered yet. So the 25 of us used 1 textbook, 1 of each, and there were about 6 or 7 textbooks that we used, and we had to share it. That was how we started at Carrimac. They had no tape recorders. I had a personal tape recorder, which I used and shared with the rest of the class. So it was interesting. But I want to start off with a question. Are there any production assistants in here now, or producers who have gotten into the business, into broadcasting within the last 10, 15 years? You've been hearing a lot about telecine, and run telecine. Not veterans, but new people in here. Any of you know what is telecine? You're hearing about Don Blades being the first telecine operator. You know what is telecine? Any of you know what is a clapperboard? No, the veterans would know. For those who, telecine was the projectors where we strung up the 16mm film. This is what 16mm film looked like. This is taped up, because if you don't tape it up like this, it will unravel itself. And you spend many hours trying to rewind it together. Clapperboard was a board on which was written the name of the production, the number of the reel of film, scene what, and take 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. It's called a clapperboard because it had two pieces. On the bottom of the board was written in chalk all the information we just mentioned. At the top, it had another piece of board that was hinged. And after the standby run, the camera got up to speed, which took about 8 to 10 seconds for the camera to get up to speed. You would then do the clapperboard. When you said action, what was that for? That was to coordinate the sound on the tape, the audio tape, with the scene that was being shot, so that the film and the audio tape would run in sync. When the board hit, that sound on the audio tape would match on the film when the thing came together. And that's how you synchronize the sound. Now the film had a little strip, if you can make out here, there's a little brown strip. That is a magnetic stripe. And this is on the magnetic stripe that the sound was recorded. There was also the other one, optical sound. Not this is magnetic sound. Some films came with the optical stripe. All right. So that is what it was in terms of film. Now, I was asked to say a few words about how far the technology has come. And we've heard from Keith, we have heard from Madam Chairman, Mrs. Bennett Cooper, about some of these things. But I would just focus on film. Radio is its own story, and as Faye said, the taping, the audio tape and editing with the editing block and the razor. And where did we have to use a razor? We couldn't use scissors because scissors were magnetic. This, as I told you earlier on, is magnetic. If you used a magnet on a magnet, you would get a click and a pop. So when it ran through, or when the audio tape ran through, you would hear click, click. So you had to use a razor blade, which was non-magnetic, to cut the tape and cut the film. Now the thing about editing, okay, anybody here, again, not talking to the veterans, anybody in here knows what is a Steenbeck? What is a Steenbeck? Keith, you're smiling and laughing. A Steenbeck is a desk, easily this wide, probably wider. It has 4 turntables on it, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. You put your film, the raw footage, on one side, and you string it through, and there's a take-up reel on the right. Now you can run it by cranking the thing and turning it by hand. The newer machines had a button, and you press the button and it would run. There's a black and white screen, and you run through. You use the China marker, and you mark where you want to cut, and you continue running till you get to the end of either what you want to take out or what you want to keep. You mark that, and then you go back to the first mark, and you cut it, and then, that's my film, and then you go back to the second mark. If it's something you're leaving out, it goes on the floor or in the waste bin. Or if it's what you're going to keep, you join up the other piece now from the spool on the right with the original tape on the left, and you use a certain type of glue to paste them together. You have to hold the 2 pieces of film together for about 20 seconds and make sure it's dry. And then you release it, and then you continue the process. Now, that is to give you an idea of how long it took to make one edit, one cut. It was a process that took easily 3 or 4 minutes to make one edit. Thing about it now, we come back to telecine. When you said stand by telecine, and you get to the point where you're ready to run, you now give the order, run telecine. It means they have to operate the projector, which is in master control, which was right behind this wall. But if you didn't splice the thing properly, and you didn't glue it together properly, once the projector took the pressure from the take-up reel, took the pressure from the master reel, the splice would open. Now remember, most things had to be done live because we didn't have videotape yet, and I'm going to come to the videotape part of it shortly. When that happened, especially if the news is going on live, and the director says, run telecine for the little clip of news, which had to have been recorded the day before, because the processing took hours. We had to go to a commercial break, or put a caption on the screen with the clock. Remember the clock? In master control. While we rejoin the film, hold it together until it's dry, so that we could now run the film so the audience at home could see what we're showing them. That is just to give you the sort of idea of how primitive, when you look on it today with today's technology, how primitive it was. But we got the job done. We got the job done. When we got the first VTR, video tape recorder, it was an Ampex 650. They belonged to ETV, where I was. They were gifts from USAID to the Ministry of Education. They were stored in master control because that's where we needed them to record and play back the school's broadcast each morning. So I came in here very early in the morning, 7 o'clock, built my set, did my thing. But the thing about those early VTRs, let me just tell you quickly, is that they couldn't edit. So when we're recording a half-an-hour program, if at 25 minutes into the program, the telecine didn't run or the film opened, it meant we had to go back and start the program from the beginning all over again. Right, Bev? My first production, by the way, Lloyd Record produced a Jamaican play, Sam Hillary's play, called Chippy. Uriel Aldridge was Chippy. Chippy was a rogue policeman. Lloyd Record invited me to come and be a production assistant. I just left drama school. And to assist, not really production assistant. The production assistant was a very attractive young lady called Beverly Anderson. Yes, still very attractive, by the way. Still very attractive. You may not recall that. Right in the studio. It was done on film. But the thing with film, again, finally, is that you couldn't see what you did because the film took hours and hours to process. And if when you process the film, you realize that something went wrong, you had to go the next day or several days later and set up and shoot it again. And still wait several more hours to see what you did. Today, technology allows us to do it and press a button and see it instantly. And it's a different world. But we had fun, and we retained those memories, and it's, you notice when I started, I didn't say former colleagues, I said colleagues, because we are all still colleagues. We grew up in this place, in this studio. As I said, I came in here at 7 o'clock in the mornings, 5 days a week. And then when I was finished, sometimes JBC would call me and ask me to help with Romper Room, to help Tony Blackburn build a set in here for Romper Room and so on. And then I would come and assist as floor manager for Romper Room with Sheila Carter and Pat Lazarus and so on. So although I worked with JIS and ETV and didn't officially join JBC till much later, I was here at JBC in master control, in all the technical parts of it, from 1965. So next year will be 60 years. So my gray hairs are earned. They're not decoration, it's not style. You know, people ask me, what do you do to get your hair that color? I say, if you live long enough, yours will turn this color too. But anyhow, it's been such a pleasure. And enjoy the thing. That picture in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you will see what the two, that was on election night, I think election night 1970, or 72? 72. And you will see what the cameras look like. That's on that picture, on the corner there in the studio. So, thanks for having me here this morning. Thanks for your patience. I never planned to be this long. It's good to see Conce's daughter in the audience this morning. You notice, Maxine, I didn't call your name. Conce Walters' daughter, Maxine Walters. M.G. Robinson's son, T-Rob, Tony Rob. How can we forget M.G. Robinson? You can't speak about JBC and not speak of M.G. Robinson. You can't speak about news in Jamaican radio and television and not call names like Conce Walters and Hector Bernard and so on. Good to see Lloyd Gale, because she started in the newsroom, ended up as manager of television and then public relations and so on. So many others, Carol Ivy. I don't want to start, never wanted to start calling names because I know I'm going to get in trouble, but yes. So let me stop there. I've seen you, I recognize you, I remember you. Thanks.
Thank you, T. Patel. You know, there's a man sitting behind me. I had the pleasure of re-meeting him a few months ago, Stephen Stewart. And Stephen, while you were talking, Tony, and I'm thinking, EBS, because you mentioned, and Stephen said, and Tess Thomas, the Educational Broadcasting Service. They'll do their programs, and then they were aired on JBC Radio, half-an-hour programs. That's another, I wonder where those programs are that EBS produced, and Stephen worked there for a while with Tess Thomas. There's just so much, so much. Stephen is now the head of JCAP. There's just so much when we think about audiovisual that came long before JBC. Then JBC played such an important and significant role, right? But remember that when you share the information about, it's not an exhibition about JBC. It's just that because of when JBC arrived on the scene, that, I'm challenging my JBC colleagues that we need to get together now and tell the JBC story. And some of us not remembering as clearly as we used to. So we have to pull it. Who that around here? So is somebody from TVJ come up here in the place? Is that Milton Walker? Am I seeing right? Milton worked at JBC. I want all of you to know that. You understand? Milton worked in the newsroom at JBC. Anyway, we're moving along. I just wanted to. And production. Yes. What a way get loud all of a sudden when we recognize you. Yes, you see on the stair? Yeah, man. Anyway, friends, there is a box that is near the exit of this. By the way, you know what this studio is called? PBCJ people, don't say anything. You all know what this studio is called? Oh, you know, because you've been associating with it. But what was it called? Studio B. Studio B. And so PBCJ, they have named it Studio National, and I love that. But this was Studio B for all of us. And if you had to run from newsroom, come over here, like when Tony flashed over for read the news. You remember them days, Tony? No wonder you look athletic still. Anyway, so there's a box at the door because, you know, I don't know if you watch the channel frequently enough. There are some amazing things that happen on the PBC channel. And some of the older things that they ensure are kept alive, and they play them at important times in our history, like Independence and Heritage Week. But beyond that, some of the plays that were done here that are not linked to any specific time of year, those things are available. So I'm going to ask you to leave your business cards, because there are many things that can happen here and will happen here and has been happening here, and we would like to keep you informed. So leave your business card. Maybe I should have said, where's the QR code that they could just... I'm with it, honey, I'm with it. I just want Maxine, I'm with it. Tell them I'm with it. You know, so we pass business card time, now the QR code we must put up on the door, right, Debbie? So then just cling and gone. All right, so that's one thing. So this is Studio National, and many things have been used here. And by the way, this is the only, and I was reminded about it, the only drive-in studio in the English-speaking Caribbean where a vehicle can drive right in here. The only drive-in, a car or a vehicle can drive in here through that door down there. So, yeah. So we are way ahead of the time, and we are still way ahead of the time with this studio. And now it's time for the show reel. So, first of all, let me apologize for Dashan. And you remember me tell you, say, enough time I have to sprinkle the white rum. Dashan's sick too. The cola mad everybody. So, smell good though, you know. Me not drink this stuff though, but me take it, sap me mole. So Dashan is not here. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. Behave yourself, Patrick. Patrick is not just a colleague, but he's my family. Anyway, so I won't tell you what come to my mouth to tell the people them. Anyway, so Dashan can't be here. Dashan, I don't know if we are streaming, aren't we? Right, we are streaming, we are going live. So Dashan, if you're watching, we hope you get better soon. And Cordell, we hope you get back your voice very, very soon. We know how important your voice is to you, not just in the important office jobs that you do, but as a performer. So now we're going to ask you to look at the show reel. Have fun. Enjoy.
General, salute! Present!
Undaunted by the driving rain, a sea of faces awaited at the Palisadoes Airport the arrival of a living legend. To some, he was the King of Kings, the Lion of Judah, even a god. But to most, he was a mild-mannered monarch who had won the respect and admiration of Jamaicans.
Nancy and I thank you from the bottom of our hearts for the warm and gracious welcome that you've given us here in Jamaica.
On the evening of Friday, September 11th, 3 gunmen entered Tosh's residence in what appears to have been an attempted robbery. Before the evening was over, 2 people had been fatally shot, and a 3rd died later in hospital.
In the house that night were Peter Tosh and his common-law wife, Marlene Brown. They were entertaining drummer Carlton Santa Davis, a friend, Michael Robinson, and herbalist Winston Doc Brown. 2 other visitors were expected. Jeff Dixon, the popular local DJ known as Free Eye, and his wife, Joy. Marlene Brown picks up the story.
Then I said, tall one just come on. I said, Peter, I say, you're going dead tonight. So nobody said nothing. We come for kill you.
Me can get a game. Monday, September the 12th, 1988, has gone down in the annals of Jamaica's history. It was the day Hurricane Gilbert came, and with it came death and destruction. Hurricane warnings were out from the night of September the 11th. The nation braced itself for Gilbert, but in the aftermath, just over 40 people lost their lives, and damage worth billions of dollars was left behind. In a matter of hours, Jamaica was ravaged by one of the most destructive hurricanes ever to hit the Western Hemisphere.
Yes, all Jamaica would remember the release of Mandela from prison on February 11, 1990. They would remember, too, the massive emotional outpouring and the coming together in the Halfway Tree Park.
Juliet Cuthbert stormed through to win the 100 meters in 11.19 over Sheila Eccles of the United States, who clocked 11.26, and Daley Duhaney 11.37.
And students of the Hopefield Preparatory School marched to the French Embassy today to deliver a petition asking for the shipment to be stopped. 10-year-old Matthew Samuda delivered the students' message to the Chargé d'Affaires.
Of plutonium, lots of marine and human life would be wiped out from the Caribbean.
Greetings, Massive. Hey. Wagwan, Jamaica.
Just to see people like Dennis Hall. I called him Uncle D. I remember going up to the hospital when he wasn't well and just being there. Hey, you couldn't show Lindy Delapena, man? I understand, no? I'm just teasing. I know we couldn't do everything. I'm just teasing. And I know it's not a JBC exhibition, okay? But by the way, it's great to have another archivist in the back called Bran Saint-Just, because when you heard that voice there for the independence, right, Bran? That's right. Not independence, for when Islas was coming. Do you know whose voice that was? Reggie Carter. Right. And also something else I want to share with you. Dennis Hall performed in the jazz film A Time of Fury. And Tony just stand up and turn around. Just stand up, back the jacket and turn around. You know why I'm asking to do that. Or take off the jacket if the back of the shirt okay. All right? This is a shirt he wore in 1970, the first time he appeared on television. It's not a joke. They think it's a joke. It's not a joke. That's history. Hugh Small, can you believe this? You have anything, any piece of clothing that has lasted this long? But that's Tony. That is Tony. All right. Friends, we want to thank everybody who came in for this exhibition. Pass the word around, get the word around. But this is just the opening. Now you will have to go and view the exhibition. There is a bit of refreshment on the outside of the studio here. Don't go just yet, because I want to separate the two items. What has happened here today. The final thing I want to ask, though, is for all of us to turn around and give a before you start, a round of applause to the people who have been in this business for 20 years or less. Here they are. You can't see them properly. Here they are. These young people who've come along to make veterans like Keith feel safe that you're handing it over. And I remember your chairman spoke about the importance of standards. My love, young people, we had to understand standards because the people who led the organizations, you know, whether it was the National Library or the JBC or the JIS or wherever, the standards were very, very high. And so I am glad that, you know, even though it stresses you on the board sometimes, he means well, even though he got hit in his head with an iron. No, he did. He was a cameraman on the Folk Singers All-Ireland tour, and we were coming down the old Melrose Hill in the coach, and next thing I know, the iron drop out of the overhead thing and lick him in the head. So anything that, you know, same really get licked in the head. Oh my gosh, the memories that keep seeping in. Carol Ivy. But anyway, so listen to me now. Remember to drop your card in, but I'm going to ask you at this time, with a different kind of reverence, to stand as we prepare for the national anthem, the playing of the national anthem, and then we will, you'll be escorted to the exhibition where Joan Andrea and others will be there to take you through that. But I'll be doing 3 people will remain with me, Mrs. Manley, Miss Fisher, and Mr. Small afterwards for a little something that I need to do. All right? Please stand for the playing of the national anthem.